It's season 11. Do you know where your Nephilim are? Countless number of children are left crying in the streets of Sanctuary. The denizens of hell have overrun all the roads, all the passageways, all the waypoints. What do? What to do? Let me tell you. Get those people back in the game, man. Season 11 is here. It's time for you to grind, and hopefully you've been doing so, because we have a lot of excitement for this brand new season that has become live since our last episode. You are now listening to episode 122 of the Westmarch Workshop. Season 11 check-in. We're going to see if your heart, your tickers, and work in order here. If you've been procking a little too much, we're going to go ahead and figure out why. And get you right back on your feet, out fighting the good fight. So, Mr. Knight.
Oh, hi.
Oh, hi.
Oh, hi.
It was a pleasure to see you over there in that box.
He's lying. He can't actually see me.
Oh, no. If I look this way, it looks like I'm looking right at you.
I can reach out and touch... Wait, wrong side. I can reach out and touch you. There we go. I got it. I got it.
Well,
look that way.
Wish upon us.
That's a lot of episodes. It's been a few.
Just a couple.
Just a couple.
We've been doing this thing for a little bit.
Just a little while.
Imagine how many more episodes we'd have if we weren't slackers and moved to the 2-week format.
This is true. This is true. Though I probably wouldn't have been in as many if we I probably would be in about the same number of episodes though if we hadn't just for trying to go through and get real life stuff done and out of the way.
Oh yeah, I would say that we probably would have just had about the same number of shows and more skip shows.
Yes.
Oh, sorry guys, can't do it this week.
Can't do it this week. So now we seem more consistent. Yep, by doing it every 2 weeks. But even then, like that was the start of this year. That was.
Oh god.
Yeah, that was rough getting going.
We caught our stride.
No, we're back in it. Back in it again.
Sir, back in the saddle again, like that Aerosmith song.
Yes. Yes. I like where you're going with this one.
The only reason I know that is because there was a, and this actually just occurred to me because I forgot that this was a version of this game, but Guitar Hero had an Aerosmith version where it was just all Aerosmith songs. Well, for the most part. A few contemporaries. That's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny how, like, they kind of, like, both Rock Band and Guitar Hero got killed off and then, you know, brought back, like, 10 years later.
Right?
Yeah.
And you would think the music genre, the music, what is it called, rhythm game type thing would, you know, stay pretty consistent because everyone always likes music and everyone always likes games.
Yeah. With the newest versions, though, it's, you know, they kind of, like, because before... I know this is supposed to be a Diablo podcast, and here we are going through and talking about, you know, Guitar Hero and Rock Band. But before, the big thing was that they got a lot of the profitability from it was selling the accessories, the guitars, the drum sets, and such. And so it was always constantly going through and pushing the big like starter boxes and such. And as the market got saturated and everybody actually had the full sets of guitars and all that, the profitability dried up because now all of a sudden they're pushing a lot of money into making all these peripherals that nobody's buying, and then they can't maintain the profitability off the game sales or the proper profit ratio for the song downloads because of licensing fees and stuff like that. And then, you know, it's like Activision was like, nah, we're shuttering Guitar Hero. You know, the new ones though are all about like streaming, like especially like the new Guitar Hero is, you know, you can actually, like, you can't really even, like, buy songs. A lot of it is, like, you play the game, you get tokens, and you use those tokens to, like, rent a song, or you can pay, like, a fee and get the entire library for 24 hours. It's, like, party mode. It's really interesting how they've kind of gone to more of, like, that little, like, almost like nickel and dime service. And it's, the way that it's set up now is, like, really, like, of like a true like party game. It's like you go through, you get it. Here's $5, you know, for like all day, all the songs or whatever. You don't have to worry about purchasing each individual song, you know, for like a get together or karaoke night at my place. And it's really, really interesting. A lot of fun.
Huh. So yeah, they almost like found a way to do microtrans. Because I always thought that the thing that would sustain that would be, them releasing these DLC packs. Like, okay, we've got 10 new songs for
Hmm.
you this month or something. But yeah, you're right. I guess the peripherals were going to be the biggest ticket there.
Yeah, I'm sure it's probably have changed with this round of games, but originally, yeah, there wasn't quite as much profit in the song downloads in order to keep the game itself going. At least, to the higher ups. And so they decided to go through and gut them.
Interesting.
But
Yeah,
now,
so sorry, go ahead.
I was just about to say, but yeah, now since there hasn't really been all that much, they're finally kind of like back and they're kind of going and getting up there again.
It's intriguing how these things find ways to evolve to continue.
Yeah, and hopefully they just won't oversaturate the market this time and come out with like 3 copies of the game every year.
Yeah, take your time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, speaking of new copies of games, how about Diablo 4 3?
Yeah, Diablo 4.3.
Yeah.
Still waiting for PvP.
Someday, somewhere.
Yep. We'll get it one day, eventually. It's out there.
Mm-hmm.
It still exists. I wonder if we could ever like convince someone at Blizzard to like, can we just play the old arena PTR again? At BlizzCon one year.
You think that build still exists? Like, what? Actually, I wonder if they ever get rid of old stuff, or if they just keep like a hard drive of the old ideas in case they ever want to pull on it.
I would have assumed that, space, of course, is always a commodity, but there's certain things that you could just run out, buy a couple of external hard drives, throw it on there, and stick it in storage. It'd be fine. We've got this build saved and cataloged and such. But then some of like the comments with Riker's interview with David Brevik about like the whole remaster of like Diablo 1 or Diablo 2, and he wasn't even sure if Blizzard still had like the original code for the game, that they could actually do like a remaster or have to kind of like rework it from the ground up, because like he didn't have it. He's not sure what might have happened to it. And it's like I guess stuff like that does get lost with the passage of time. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think he was even talking about like how some of the sprites or the monsters and things would have to be kind of all redone, and there's not just like a bank of those chilling, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's strange to think of it like that.
Yeah, it just seems like it would always be present, but maybe not. Maybe it's lost, just like my old live journal. In the sands of the internet time.
Damn it, I still need to delete that thing.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go look it up. It's at livejournal.com/NinaBall.
Nina Beard.
Nina Beard. Oh,
Nina Bard.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, the Russians are using it to go through and spy on all your personal information.
Oh, you're the leaker.
Yeah.
Wow.
I hack everyone's live journal.
So that's where all the secrets are.
Yes.
That's why your hair's so big.
That's how I can go through and change my name at will, apparently.
All the hidden identities. All right, so how about those?
We want to talk about the Diablo again?
Yeah, let's do that.
If you say so, I guess. Fine.
Why not?
Well, I guess I could go first, just because I have a far less interesting and less to talk about. So yes, since our last episode, season 11 has started and is here. Here we are going through. We're in it a day under 2 weeks now, maybe 2 weeks from listening to this, depending upon when you went through and caught the last episode. But my season so far, it started out a little rough, but has been pretty good. That week, I had a inner ear infection, and so was kind of like off kilter like the entire time.
Oh boy!
I streamed the season opening for a while, but it was around I think like 4 or 5 a.m. I couldn't take it anymore, so I had to go and sit down, because lying down made it worse. I had to sit down, just away from the computer, and just kind of like. Then I ended up, of course, falling asleep. But it greatly limited my play time because I could only do like 1 or 2 hours at a time until I would just get too dizzy to like, go through and continue playing. But I still managed to push my character pretty far comparatively. I've been doing a lot of stuff solo. I know I've played some group stuff with you, Lala, and No One's Minion, and then of course big shout out to Mikey and Zach for going through and helping me level on Thursday evening, and of course went and did some a lot of group stuff the very first couple of days with like Fierce, Fouch, and Lucas from the clan, going through and helping get started. And we went and got our 6 pieces all set up and did just some power runs to try and get some early level Greater Rift keys and stuff like that those first couple of nights. But I managed to unlock my primals. I've been doing a little bit of farming of Greater Rift 80s, but I've been having some really serious internet connection issues. And so the other night, I was in the middle of doing my my first attempt at a Greater Rift 80, and everything was going well. And then all of a sudden, everything stopped moving and stopped attacking. And so I, like immediately go through and hit the pause screen. But like the sounds are still playing in the background of the monsters, so it's like the game hasn't caught up to the pause, and there's a little bit of like all of a sudden it catches up like a little bit. There's a little bit of movement, and then just like boom, there was an error and the game crashes. And it's like, oh my god, because I was in the middle of fighting stuff. It's like, well, I died. This freaking sucks, and it takes me a couple minutes before I can even get back into the game. I was in Discord with you, but I didn't have a mic at the time, or as I didn't want to wake people up, and so I was like whispering into Discord. I was like, "Did I die? Am I still alive?" And then when I get back into the game, my character is still there. There's been no RIP notification or anything like that. But then when I click Start Game, the game doesn't load, and then there's an error again, and I get disconnected. I just want to log in and make sure that my character is still alive.
Right? It's like keeping you in suspense.
And so this plays on for like 5 or 7 minutes before the internet finally like stabilizes. I can log back in. Okay, my character is alive. That's it. I've had far too many heart attacks tonight. I'm going to bed. And then the next day, I go through and again try to do my Greater Rift 80 before work. And I zone in. Thankfully, there wasn't much. It was like immediately at the zone in. There was no elite pack there, and I get disconnected from the game again. It was like, you gotta be freaking kidding me.
Oh my god.
I didn't feel as bad because there was only like 2 enemies on the screen that were still alive, and I had like a full complement of mages. So if there was anything that was nearby that was going to aggro, I should be fine. Because at least that's the nice thing about pet build, is that you can survive a disconnect a little bit easier. Especially with just how obscenely powerful like Rathma Singularity mages are. But it still was a little bit nerve-wracking waiting a couple minutes to get back into the game. It's like, okay, I'm still alive. I gotta go to work. Goodbye.
And that's the end of that.
Yeah, and so, but yeah, finally managed to go through and get my Greater Rift 80 done, and I've been running a couple of those, and it's been having a lot of fun with I've been playing exclusively the Necromancer so far this season, and it's been a lot of fun. I've mainly been playing Rathma set for my pushing, and it's kind of slow. I think every single one of my, from going from like the Greater Rift 75 all the way up to Greater Rift 80, I've been doing around like 8 or 9 minute clears. Because I don't have problems killing anything. It really comes down to I don't have any movement speed because I have so much stuff built into like the survivability and damage that I don't have Blood Rush. And so I'm literally I'm hoofing it everywhere. I'm just walking through the entire rift while the mages go through and kill everything. And so it's a little bit slow, it's safe, but it's consistent.
Alright. Almost sounds like UE, except without the tumble, or without the volt.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like you can't really skip anything, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I kill everything on my way to the Rift Guardian.
Crazy.
Yeah, but I have discovered, like, a favorite build for the season so far.
Ooh.
Yeah, I guess we could go through and maybe talk about that a little bit later once we go into like the whole the necro surprises and such. But I'll save that one for a little bit. Other than that, what is it? I briefly was able to go through and play an Age of Sigmar Path to Glory tournament at my local hobby shop. I managed to score first place, going completely undefeated with a Soul Blight list. It's vampires. I'm sure everybody cares about that on a Diablo podcast. And
Ooh.
then I started my new job working as a theater manager again. It's a lot of fun, but man, I miss these 12-hour shifts and getting home at 2 o'clock in the morning. So my play, and of course subsequently, as Longshot will tell you, my streaming schedule has been a little bit in flux this past week, and we'll be waiting to see if and when that normalizes. So yeah, well, with that, I'll hand it off to you, good sir.
All right. Sounds like you're in a great spot.
Yeah,
I
doing well.
Similarly, yeah, good. Similarly situated over on this side of things, over in the north end of America. America. Let's see. So yeah, the season did start right after, or the day after, our last episode. Like I mentioned on the episode, we had our set group ready to go with myself, No One's Minion, Viper, and Lala. And for the most part, everything went according to plan, except our plan did not necessarily accord for bad RNG. It just kind of happened to us. So we never really got anything that catapulted us forward. There were like no surprise rainbow goblins. There were no, Canes and Borns drop in. And the only thing that was really kind of lucky early on was that Viper managed to get his hands on a Manald heal at, I think, like level 30-ish or 40-ish. So of course he carried us, because once you get that ring and you can proc the legendary power on that, like whatever difficulty you're on, you're just melting
Things
stuff.
melt.
Oh yeah. So he's been enjoying the wizard this season, learning a lot from Lala, who did a fair amount of wizarding from last season. So she's kind of been our spirit guide for all usage of that class, because it's really kind of insane how, even though the build has been around for about 2 seasons now, it's really coming to prominence within the speed greater rifting meta. And the main composition for that is a shrine monk, which is a monk that's basically there to support, but the main thing that it does is uses the Avarion spear in the cube, and with that they can get whenever a demon dies, they have a chance to get a shrine, and sometimes that's an experience shrine. So of course these speeds are mainly for experience, getting your paragon levels up. So whenever that proc happens and you get that shrine, it's really nice, because now you're getting bonus experience within the rift. And the way that the wizards work, they're killing a ton of trash and stuff while trying to get those Ingeons from killing all the elites. So you're building up a ton of experience along the way. So it's really nice for anyone that's looking to speed, probably from anywhere from like 75s to 85s, 86s is about the range that many of the top tier groups are giving it. And probably as your gear gets better, by the end of the season, if you're still doing speeds, you might be able to notch it up a little beyond that. But that's kind of like the sweet spots for that. And then other setups kind of take precedence and more efficiency from there. But yeah, it's been interesting on my side to play wizard, because as everyone knows, although I try to keep it mainly secret, I hate the wizard. The wizard is my least favorite class. The mechanics of it, I don't even know, man. I just haven't been able to get it. I love the sorceress from D2, but the wizard just didn't translate. It's kind of like a thing we used to say, if you remember back in the vanilla days, we almost said like the demon hunter felt more like the successor to the sorceress than the wizard did.
Yeah, I know. Back over on like the Diablo podcast from DiabloII.net, Flux used to talk about that a lot. How he was really, his favorite was the sorceress. He was really disappointed with like the wizard, because the demon hunter was the only range class in the game.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So it's regardless of my disdain for it or not, it's definitely been interesting. It's like there's no denying the power of the wizard. It is just insane when everything comes together with that Tals and that Veers and the Manald heal.
They've been top for how many seasons?
Well, this might be the one where they're dethroned.
Yes.
Because that Necro.
That Necro.
But definitely the last two, I'm sure you're happy. And
Not
even
that
before...
not that I'm gonna probably risk it with that build, but we'll see.
Might come to it. The last two seasons for sure, Wizard has been on lock as, the highest solo clearers. And, they had their enjoyment of the meta with the 3 supports in one Wizard with the whole Energy Twister, the ET builds. So, I mean, they've been enjoying a good time for the last, year plus. So it's nice if you're a Wizard main, this is your time to shine. But that was, I guess, jumping ahead a little bit because I did start Demon Hunter, so everyone's like, wait, Wizard? But yeah, I started Demon Hunter mainly because that was going to assist us, the group, in getting our conquest done as quickly as we possibly could. And that went relatively successful. The snafus that we had early were Viper died relatively soon into... Actually, I think it was right after he got his 6-piece setup, so that was kind of a bummer. But we got him back on his feet relatively quickly. And then I died about 21 or 22 hours into the first day, because we did the 24-hour stream. So you have a very clear idea of how many hours you're in at that point. And the game just froze on me. Vipers, I think, was just like a weird thing in a rift where I think you got stuck in one of the houses on a map. So, a couple of setbacks, unfortunately. And then combine that with the bad RNG was not making for a good time. So...
I can't tell whether it's like the game servers that have been screwing with me because my internet's so bad.
I mean, honestly, it could be a little bit of both, right? Like the servers have definitely not been as stable, and I wonder if that's due to just the enormous curiosity for the Necromancer this season. A lot of people wanting to come back and maybe reserving their playtime specifically for when the season started. Because, I mean, that was one of the things they were fearing, right? Was, oh, let's start this on a Thursday. So in case there is overload or issues or things like that, we're in the office on Friday. And
like almost all of the classes have undergone like how many different iterations for different types of like movement skills or calculations that caused server instabilities.
Yeah, right. Like all the barb stuff.
Or just like having like multitudes of calculations with witch doctor specs and such. And I'm sure that with the Necromancer, there's different types of calculations with Land of the Dead and just corpse skills in general. There's been a couple of threads I've seen both on the official forums and on Reddit talking about kind of like Necromancer skills can sometimes feel off.
Yeah, like a little bit of delay or failure to activate. Yeah, there is, and yeah, I do wonder how much of it is just the coding or this patch or...
Yeah, and because that isn't, of course, if it's causing issues with the server, it's not going to be, well, I'm not playing a Necromancer, why would that have any effect on me? Well, it's because you're playing on a server with, hundreds of thousands of other Necromancers that, are going to, if they create a hiccup somewhere in the server processing, it will eventually ripple back to you.
We're all connected somehow, some way. So yeah, I mean, I've been asking around to other people in the community, other groups, popping in on other streams like Zanji's stream and stuff, and they've been noticing some freezes and things like that too. Like, it was funny. I just hosted Zanji after one night where I finished my stream, and they were running some 4-mans, I think like 90s or something like that. And as I got in there, the barb got like disconnected. So I was like, oh look, it's not just us. It's definitely happening elsewhere. So, hopefully, I was hoping that some of the like hot fixing and things that they were doing would be to help with that. But like the latest hot fix was for them to pull out like the high spawn rate of goblins in, the upper cursed realm of fate. And of course, Reddit's in an uproar over that because they're like, they're just killing fun. They're not even working on fixing the game. And maybe some of these fixes are a bit more involved or things they don't want to risk in case it creates more bugs like we saw that one time. Losing the stack counts and stuff. So I mean, I don't know. It's definitely a bit of a bummer because as a hardcore player, you and I both experienced this where if we notice any little bit of offness, it makes you want to, should I do like maybe T10 today or like not play or?
Yep. It's like, well, I guess I'm done with Diablo for today. Time to go and play like some Hearthstone.
Yeah. Places where if you lag, it won't matter. Or you might lose a turn or something, So it's definitely creating some interesting, push through moments with our play so far, but hopefully things maybe level out. Could just be a popularity thing, and that won't get worse as the season goes on, unless it just becomes another season 10 again, where everyone keeps playing the whole way through.
Mm-hmm. Which I don't know. This season so far, at least for me, has started off like phenomenally. I think I'm already like up to the point that I was last season when I ended. Yeah.
That's a good sign.
Yeah.
It's definitely a good sign. I mean, we're ahead too. It's weird because I feel like you get expectations, especially with the whole introduction of primals. Like you kind of have this weird RNG thing of like, you can get great primals early, or you can just get crap ones or none, or so they kind of weigh on you compared from one to another. Even though it's such a bad thing to compare because the rate of getting them is so small.
And it's also so inconsistent. You need a much larger, like 2 weeks isn't enough to like really gauge like how's my luck been for primals.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like you're seeing at least a trickling in of them to be like, oh man, like my RNG sucks, like this is so bad. So
yeah.
it's like enough to upset your state of mind, but like not enough that it actually should be significant yet. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like a weird player trap. But I mean, again, we've also talked about the fact that I guess maybe the big thing with it is that earlier in the season they're more important because you don't have that bank of ancients built up yet to where a primal is going to be a nice upgrade if it's the right one, versus later in the season as you stabilize your farming and stuff and you have more resources. Then as you get the primals, they're going to make less of that impact. Mm-hmm. Still happy to see them though.
I have my first primal of the season was a primal Deadringer, which I have to see if I can actually like get that into use for like a boss killing build.
Ooh, you can be the boss killer. Mm-hmm. Although I think that one's cubed, isn't it?
You might be right.
Because I'm pretty sure you're Jessething there, or however we said we're gonna JS.
Yeah.
Shorten that one. But yeah, find a way to force it into the meta. You make the meta.
Yeah. No.
All right. So, I mean, like, this is all sort of part of Gaming Weeking, but we're also reserving some time during the news section for an extended Season 11. Mm-hmm. So, I at least wanted to report one thing, which I'm pretty excited about. And I say one because, let's go, we're rank 1 Demon Hunter right now. So, the luck hasn't been that bad, because obviously to be at that point now is you got to have at least a little bit of decent luck on your side. Managed to pick up a Primal Carly's Point on Saturday. Maybe I had to come in on Sunday. But I think I got that on Saturday evening. The days kind of run together. And have had decent luck with some Ancient Shadows pieces. So I just ran the Shadow stuff on Monday, of Pushing Mondays, where I put my rank up a little bit. And I was looking at the boards, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure Demon Hunter took a nice hit in popularity because everyone's like, oh, Wizard's going to be the boss killer. And everyone's like, oh, Necro's going to be the boss killer. And everyone's like, well, we don't really know, but no matter what, DH is out. So fuck DH. Can I say that word?
I'll allow it.
All right. I guess I already said it. So everyone's probably just like, well, if a DH isn't going to be in the group, so I should even make one. So I'm pretty sure those boards will be a little less competitive. But nevertheless, I mean, they're still there for the taking. So I was like, this looks like a little juicy sitch. I can go for this. And just climbed up from about an 85 up to, I think it did 87, then 88, 89, 90. So that's where we're sitting at right now. Gonna try and defend as the season goes.
Mm-hmm. All right. And so are you gonna actually go through and do that like every Monday? Try to make sure that you maintain like that #1 slot?
I was thinking about it earlier today, and I think what I'll do for a process is when Monday rolls around and I still have rank 1, I'll just up it by 1 if I can, or just make some attempts at like the next Greater Rift up, so like 90, 91. Mm-hmm. But if someone has beaten it, then I'll probably try to beat their time or beat their Greater Rift.
Mm. And you're #1 by like a pretty decent margin too.
Mm-hmm. Next is an 88. And I think it's like a 1430 88 or something. So, probably at the limit for those guys. And my 90 is 11 something. So I definitely have room to grow.
Yeah, that's definitely, you can say there's a safe 91 in there.
Mm-hmm. At the very least.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little bit of competition. Someone, I put the video highlight out there, and then someone commented like, good clear, but I'm coming for you. So I'm like, you know what?
Ooh,
Bring
nice.
it. Let's go.
That only sets you further.
Yeah. It just makes me more hyped to farm and keep that progression going.
Mm-hmm. Well, shall we go into talk about how things have been for season 11, or I guess we kind of already did that, or
We're in the middle of it. I suppose.
yeah.
I want to hear more about your special Necromancer sauce that you got going.
So, this one, I was just going through, and I was having to go through and get that Jesseth, whatever. We'll get confirmation on that one day, I'm sure. I needed to try and get an ancient version of the weapon, so that way I was having difficulties pushing for my greater of 70. And so I needed to try and farm up as many death's breaths as I possibly could. And so I was just looking for farming builds, and at the time, one of the top-rated builds over at Diablo Fans was a build by Bagstone, which was a Pestilence Sages farming set for doing like Greater Rift 7 to Greater Rift 10, for just using like that Sages to farm up Death's Breaths, and it was amazing. And it is everything that I wanted out of the Pestilence set, while only using like the 2-piece set bonus. It's just there for proccing the corpse lances when you devour a corpse. And it's like the ultimate Netflix build, because I literally just teleport around the screen. I don't do anything else. I just hit Blood Rush, and that's it. And then when the Engium wears off, I run around until I get an elite. Then it dies, and then I continue to just Blood Rush around the build, the rest of the Rift with this build.
Sounds beautiful.
It's a lot of fun. It's absolutely amazing. And then, of course, it's like if you have decent rift density, you can just keep Engiom up 100% of the time, so you can get really speedy clears. It also like resets the Land of the Dead really fast, but you're doing so much damage with the Corpse Lance through Corpse Whisper Pauldron, the Shadow Hook, and the Johnstone, that it doesn't even need like any other buffs or set bonuses to go through and push it forward. And like this is like most other Sages builds, this isn't for Torment 13. This is just for farming Death's Breaths. For me, I've kind of like found the sweet spot with my gear at Torment 9, though I did find a new ancient Shadow Hook. I might be able to push it up to Torment 10. Just because.
What Torment are you on right now?
Sorry, Torment 9.
Perfect.
Yep. It's one of those. It's just for speedily going through and trying to collect as many Death's Breaths as possible. And when I was going and playing it to go and get the ancient Jessus, I think I was like farming up. I did it for like 2 hours and got 800 Death's Breaths. So I was like averaging around like 400 an hour.
Not bad.
Yeah, on Torment 9. So that was, and it's just it doesn't. There's not a lot to it, but it's so fulfilling. Like just like going around and watching like the Corpse Lancers just go and shoot everywhere. Like during the beta, the Pestilence set was my favorite. It just every time that you hit that Land of the Dead and you started mashing Devour, and you just saw like hundreds and hundreds of Corpse Lances just going out everywhere and killing everything on the screen. It was so much fun. And this is something that's actually put like that Pestilence set to work. I can only hope that Travis Day follows up with his comments about wanting to go through and make some improvements and possibly adding Corpse Lance into like that 6-piece set bonus, because the Pestilence set is a lot of fun. I absolutely enjoy it. It's great.
I just love the saga of how far we've come on the Pestilence set.
Pestilence set, I don't know, this doesn't look all that great. Oh my god, this is freaking amazing, but I don't know how they're actually going to push it forward. Well, they made some changes to it. This is freaking awesome. And then now it's just, I just need the 2-piece set bonus. That's it. That's all it is. It's just 2 pieces, set, good, one and done. Alright, let's roll. I played around with that on my stream for a little bit. I think it was the other week, and it was amazing.
Yeah, well, I gotta see this in action.
Yeah, I'm getting really low on Death's Breath, so I'm hoping to try and stream tomorrow. So I will definitely play around with that for a little bit.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool too to see, one of the biggest complaints a lot of people had, or maybe even still harbor, is the fact that the Necromancer sets all occupy their standard slots for your character. So there really is no way traditionally to get the sages in there or anything else that would occupy like a helm or shoulders or a chest. So it's kind of cool to see, hey, actually we can just roll with only a 2-piece bonus and still work sage in there.
Yeah, because like the whole big thing is, you're using like the moribund gauntlets, so that way your golem is constantly dropping corpses, as well as blood rush molting, so that way you always are dropping a corpse. So you at least have decent corpse generation, and pretty much every time that you fire a corpse lance, especially at Torment 9, you're killing an enemy. So every corpse turns into a dead enemy, which then turns into another corpse, which is another dead enemy. You only need one. You only need to start with one corpse to kill off the entire screen.
One corpse to rule them all.
One corpse to rule them all. One corpse to find them. But it's really awesome, and I mean, you can just like going through and playing that, or even just like I mentioned it earlier about like that #1 spot with the Necromancers we were talking about on the last show with the Blood Lance build. Corpse Lance and its mechanics, it's extremely powerful. And so if they did something like with the Pestilence set, so that way it buffed the Corpse Lance damage, and then combine that with, the Corpse Whisper Pauldrons and maybe a Johnstone or something like that, would be like, that would all of a sudden take like the Pestilence set from it's only usable for its 2-piece set bonus for farming to, maybe we can actually speed farm some Greater Rifts with this thing. Because, like the Blood Lance, that's just for higher end Greater Rift pushing. It's not for, you can't use that to speed run. That's right. Just for pushing your, your absolute highest on the Greater Rifts, because it's tied to such a long cooldown in order to kill anything.
Right. And I mean, one of the comments that Travis did make was they were kind of hoping the Pestilence set would find its home as the speed farm setup, right? So, yeah. I mean, that could potentially be, I mean, I'm sure they probably want it to also do well in Greater Rifts, and so, something like you're saying, adding that Corpse Lance damage to the 6-piece something could propel that further into the Greater Rifts. But even if it ends up landing as like, your 3-minute GR70s or your 3-minute GR80s or something, that's a good spot to be at too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like where Yui multi-shot ended up,
Exactly. Everything is, not every set has to be your #1, Greater Rift pusher. There's different purposes for different sets and different builds. What you use to go through and farm, or at least push over, like say Greater Rift 100, or is not going to be the same as the one that, like you mentioned, you're speed running your 75s or 80s, or after augments maybe 85s or 90s.
All right. Yeah, it's kind of like that specificity of the task. Have the right tool for the right job. Mm-hmm. And that tool can definitely change. You actually did bring up one thing I wanted to pick your brain about, which is the whole Blood Lance meta. The fact that this build is just, people were looking at it before the season started, and there was a guy who's fairly famous on Twitch as far as Diablo streams go for just being like the rank 1 wizard all the time. He like really pushes some high level content, and he was taking the Blood Lance build to like, the highest heights. I think right before season started, he had done a 115 or a 116. Mm-hmm. And, we're talking like high Paragon, high augments, things like that. But even still, it was just nutso. And then you looked on day 1 of season 11, and people were just like, this is too much. This is crazy. I think Al Kaiser had already cleared like a 90-something or a 100 even, getting close to that.
I think, what was it? I haven't checked it in a while, but I think like it was before last weekend. It was like a week ago. He did a 102.
Yeah, it was insane. Yeah, during a season, like 2 days of gearing. So I guess my question is this like, is it too strong? Are they going to reel this in? Does this make it to season 12 in this version?
I don't know. It's really hard to say, because it's like kind of like I think I mentioned this a little bit before on the last episode. It's a lot like the old Condemned Crusaders. You know, it's like it's any type of build that is tied to cooldown reduction is going to plateau at a certain point. To where the point where you can't get any more cooldown reduction, so then their power line kind of just like breaks even at a certain point. I just can't get this cooldown up, any more than this, and so my gearing options are extremely limited. I can't put anything else into. I can't sacrifice this other stat to maybe get a little bit more critical hit damage, or sacrifice this, or maybe I can start re-rolling my rings to have base damage on it, or something else where I can, kind of like play Tetris with the stats and push myself a little bit further. With like the Bloodlance build, it's tied to Land of the Dead. You run around the rift, for like 45 seconds to a minute, depending upon what your like cooldown reduction actually is at. Just finding an elite pack, and then you find an elite pack, and then you just kind of teleport around it with Blood Rush. And Decrepify, so that way they don't kill you, and making sure that you stay alive with Devour. And then eventually Land of the Dead comes back up. You wait for your Convention of Elements to cycle through, you pop it, and then within that 10-second period you kill the elite, and then now you Blood Rush off to the next elite pack. And that's it. That's how you play the build. Not the most engaging. It does require quite a bit of finesse, though, because you have no safety nets. You're only killing elites, so you're constantly surrounded by mobs the entire time. And the only thing that you even have to like generate essence to fuel your Decrepifies is teleporting with Blood Rush to get the corpse that you can then devour. So. It's a very different build. It's a very different strategy, but it's just one of those ones where it's like your augments and stuff will only be able to take you too far before the scaling of the Greater Rift difficulty takes you beyond the power that you get from those higher level augments or the higher level gems, and the only thing that's holding you back is, well, I can only hit Land of the Dead every 45 seconds. And so I can only kill an elite pack every 45 seconds. And so it takes me, X amount of time to get to the Rift Guardian, and then like 2 Land of the Dead cycles to kill the Rift Guardian. And so I cannot, it's just not possible for me to go through and, push myself any further besides that, unless I happen to like luck out and get like 5 channeling pylons during the course of the Rift.
Which is impossible, by the way.
Before
someone starts going looking for the magical Greater Rift, how come I only get one?
Yeah, and so that's just kind of like how it goes. That's like just how it's gonna go for that one. It is extremely powerful, but I just feel because it is like kind of like cooldown related, it will plateau at a certain point, whereas other ones with augments and such can push their killing power like a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further, and they'll have the ability to catch up. Or whether we'll actually get to that point, I don't know.
Well, right. So here's kind of the let me give you this though. So I totally agree in that with it being cooldown based, you definitely will. You could probably do the math like right now, right? You look at your gear, look at your damage output, accounting for a few things that could fluctuate here and there, and maybe a lucky pylon here and there. You can probably predict, okay, it takes me X amount of seconds to kill an elite, or an X amount of, maybe look at it in cycles since, it is cycle based. X amount of cycles to get through, an elite with this much HP, etc. Yeah. So you could literally math out and say, I know in Greater Rift 115, elites have this much HP, the boss has this much, so I need this many cycles. Okay, that's too many because it's over 15 minutes that I would get that many cycles. So I guess what it really starts to boil down to is whatever the ceiling is for this build, is that ceiling too high for where they want the power to be at, I guess.
That's a good question. And I don't know. Because it is pretty high up there, and well, whether they actually want to go through and nerf it and bring it down, I mean, because there's a lot of ways that they could go through and do it. The biggest, like one of the biggest ones would of course be toning down the damage of the Tragol set. They could. nerf the amount of corpse generation for Land of the Dead, which probably would be what a lot of people would want, just because a lot of the complaints is just they don't like the play style, because it is you do nothing for 45 seconds to a minute besides just hunting down an elite pack and then running around in circles until Land of the Dead is up. That's the only way. You have no other way of actually doing any damage, because you only use Corpse Lance when Land of the Dead is up.
And a lot of people have criticized that just being so unengaging, so boring.
And it doesn't really feel so much like like Diablo is like this like really fast action paced game, and having these tremendous like most of the specs come down to these 2-minute cooldowns feels a little bit disengaging. Like it slows down like the pace of gameplay. It's like you're not. It's like I'm only really playing the game, when the cooldown is up, and then otherwise I'm just passively interacting with it.
And that kind of is, a lead into a topic that's also been being thrown around the community is how do we feel about these 2-minute cooldowns? Because, Simulacrum and Land of the Dead, and, sorry to Army of the Dead, but you're not in this conversation right now. Yep. These are 2 major cooldowns for a majority of the Necromancer builds that provide a lot of power for them. Don't get me wrong, like they definitely are worth their weight for how long you have to wait for them. But like you mentioned, it causes this huge CDR revolving gearing and a lot of waiting for these things to come back. So with it not necessarily feeling like it promotes the action RPG, it doesn't really get to the heart of the genre. Do you feel as if they should be changed, or do they need support in a way that makes them up more often? I mean, obviously that increases the power, right? Because if you look at something like the IK set, which takes your Wrath of the Berserker and essentially gives you it back all the time, you could go that route, and now it's not, it's a button you can hit more often, it gives you more power. For the Barbs, it's not pushing them too much further. But with the Necro, like that's a huge increase.
Yeah, it's just what is one of those ones where it's like you don't have any type of set or item which goes to reduce the cooldown of Land of the Dead, so you just kind of like left waiting for it. But it's that powerful, or I guess I should say, Corpse Lance is that powerful.
Is that powerful? Yeah.
And it's not even so much you go through and you look at it. It doesn't even seem like. Well, with the blood set, you're getting the secondary proc, so it's, kind of doing, like, 1.5 times damage, plus, like, the Triangle set bonus. But even then, it doesn't look all that great on paper. But the way that it is it functions, much like, the damage calculation on it functions like any other channeling-based skill. So that way, the more attack speed that you have, the more, kind of like damage procs, or the faster or the fewer frames it takes to actually like shoot a lance. Shoot lamps.
I love lamp.
But it is I think it's like it caps out at somewhere like the highest attainable, like the last attainable break point is something like 16 corpses a second. And so that's where that damage cycle like really comes from.
So
and you also have to go through and time it, so that way it's like you don't actually like hit Land of the Dead when the Convention of Elements is on the physical damage. You have to proc it on the one before, which I think is cold. Yeah, so that way you actually, because you only need 1 second, and you'll cap out at the I guess like a second and a third to cap out your max stacks on the Corpse Whisper Pauldron. So you have the 20 stacks for that, and then it hits the full cycle, and you're at your 20 stacks with already. And so
that makes sense. So I guess if the issue is Land of the Dead being that good, and also Corpse Lance, especially with the blood rune in particular, and the blood set being that good, where, like, if you're the developer right now, where do you nip this in the butt? If you first of all, if you even assume that this is a problem to begin with,
I guess that's the big question, is whether they actually are going to deem it a problem or not, or maybe we'll see another round of balance fixes for other classes to push them up to the Necromancer level.
Because that could be the next big thing is, none of the classes received much love while the Necro is being developed. So what if the next big patch is really just a whole pass? Like, what if the Barbarians finally get there? Actually, you know what? This is kind of a bonus question because someone mentioned it on stream a while ago, I think, or maybe a couple of days ago. How would you feel about Mortic's Brace coming back?
Oh, would it make that much of a difference anymore?
That's what I said.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? I feel like that item could exist in this meta or this like power level of the game because I don't know that it would even push them that much further than it was when it first came out.
It's definitely one of those ones where it's like I don't think it's like they'll have like the increased damage in the survivability all in one shot, so it's not like it will be. Just given the general states of the barbarians, I'm not sure, even if that pushes them, like 5 or 6 graders forward, at that point, I don't even think that they're caught up to wizards.
Right.
Let alone where the Necromancer is.
Doesn't make them OP by any means.
Yeah.
All right, you guys got the campaign. Return #return more. Oh my goodness. But no, I think maybe I guess that is the two sides of the coin there is either you bring the Necro down, which I feel like they're still not yet motivated to do. Like I feel like they still have a good reason to make the Necromancer have really strong specs, right? Because again, this is a priced product that probably is selling really well, but I don't think it's reached full saturation yet in the market. So there are probably still a lot of people holding out. And if it gets any weaker, then that sort of takes away reasons to purchase versus increases reasons to purchase. So maybe they do go the other way and say, all right, Crusader, we finally give you that Icon rework. Barbarians, we're going to touch everything that you guys have, Demon Hunters, maybe you'll get, a super boost to UE or something. Or I don't know. There definitely are a bunch of ways they could do it, like you said.
Yeah. Though, of course, when you start getting into those realms, in the past, they usually have just gone through and buff, like, classes damage, but once you start getting into, like, the 110s, 115s, I think they might also have to readdress a couple of the set's survivabilities options. Or maybe, kind of, like, get some sort of, like... We never had, like, a full replacement for Taiguk, like, kind of like the dual damage and survivability gem. Ever since they changed that one so long ago. Maybe, that could be even something that they just used to kind of like bring a bit more stability to other classes. So I'd be, of course, afraid if they did it that route, then that would also just push the Necromancer forward a little bit more.
All right, what stops them from using a nice gem like that too?
Yeah, so definitely the way that if I guess the biggest question really comes down to, are they okay with the Necromancer's current level of performance? If the answer is yes, then seeking, I guess, greater parity across all of the classes, do they then go through and buff everyone else? And of course, at that point, this is kind of like devolving back into one of those issues where a lot of the people's biggest complaint with Diablo 3 is, I can't create my own build. I'm limited to what the sets do. Because if they wanted to address that level of greater rift differences between all of the classes, one of the easiest ways to do it and get a fix out, for all 6 of the other classes besides the Necromancer, is to just buff the top performing set for every class. Or if for other situations, buff whatever item is pushing, like the lawn build or Menald for wizards and such, to take them like that extra step further, and then come back and readdress some of the other sets later on if they want to go through and maybe try and bring them up to level, or they're good with where they are, because if they buff like the pushing set, so that way people can get like that higher greater rift, it really won't affect what sets they're using to farm bounties or speed run greater rifts for Torment 13.
It's a true point, true story. The one thing, I'm kind of losing my point, so bear with me, but I was gonna say if you go that route, because you already making this point, yeah, so it kind of still forces you to, like, it doesn't, I guess, so if you're a player looking at this now, how happy are you with using the same builds just at a little bit of a stronger level, you
Yeah.
know? Because there are so many things that have been left behind. Like Lala was mentioning Nats. I totally forgot about Nats for a minute there.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know,
It
I
had
think
one season.
that was it, really, one time to shine and like gone like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's you know, I think
So it's,
variety is the spice of life and people love doing different things.
I think, what was it? Unhallowed Essence either got released or it's rework the season after Nats got his rework.
I think yeah, I think that
Yeah.
was what killed it.
Yep.
That was it. It's yeah. I wish that and the point you're making though is a very strong one in that it's much easier to tweak a number than to rework mechanics in an entire set.
Yeah.
So you know the work between you know a PTR that lasts 2 months or a month and a half or something, they can be more productive moving the number up and down than if they're saying, all right, we're gonna totally redesign Rollins, and who knows if they get that right in that short amount of time.
Yeah. And of course, like, ideally, I would love for them to go through and retweak all of the other class sets and maybe shake up the meta a little bit. Maybe they you know went through and overtuned a set for one of the other classes, and so they changed up the individual class meta because they just buffed it too much. And there actually have been quite a few new hires over for the Diablo team, and we've been seeing some new faces go through appear, like we talked about on last episode and such. But it's like that tricky old unannounced project continues to rear its I don't want to say ugly head, it's beautiful head.
Beautiful head.
It's beautiful, beautiful head.
Yes.
Once again, in the last couple of months. So I wonder if, it's like, depending, I guess it really depends on what direction it is that they take, because there's a couple, in my mind, there's like a couple different ways that they go through and do it. They continue on going through and introducing like a couple new items, or maybe a new legendary gem and some new zones and stuff like that for Diablo 3, every patch, every season, or every other season, however they want to go through and do it. And then they really have put a lot more focus on this unannounced project, which I think might still be a little bit too early, given that it's only hasn't even been 2 years yet since we've seen the first inklings of its development. The second one is, of course, they go through and they continue to double down on the Necromancer, and so they're going to like go through and like release a new class every year. Now, I'm sure not everything is going to be as intensive as the Necromancer is, with the introduction of like the corpse resource mechanic or revive. Anything else that they do should probably be able to be pushed out and with a lot less overhead and less taxing on the development team themselves. I say that, then watch them come out with something that's worse. But it's, both of those instances, though, kind of would downplay the amount of time that they would have to like fix all of the other classes and continue to go through and like readjust like everything, like do like a full sweep on everyone besides like just a numbers increase.
Yeah, I mean, it's starting to. I was just joking about this with Lala before the stream started, but we're almost entering, or maybe we never even leave it, speculation season where, Gamescom's coming up. August 22nd is when it kicks off. Then, of course, BlizzCon's, right down the road from there, first weekend in November. And trying to just contemplate what can they talk about at these events. And the season, this current season that we're in, if everything goes according to how it usually does, is slated to end a little before BlizzCon hits. And so you're asking yourself kind of like, well, where does that leave them in terms of things to talk about? Because, is the PTR going to start like right when the next season starts? And that's what they're giving us, some PTR talk. And, Lala just offered something in chat, which kind of is intriguing, where if they go with your idea of buffing the top sets for sort of the next season, and that's the small change, and then BlizzCon represents this idea of, or this opportunity for them to say, hey, we're reworking all this.
Yeah, do a big rework. Yeah, because that's just a couple of weeks ago, I would have said, like, with the Necromancer, it seemed so successful that it'd be an easy bet to say that they would go through and announce a new class at BlizzCon. But I still can't get just the way that Nevilistus phrased the statement about why the Necromancer and why now on that the game engine. I was just like, well, it's like we did the Necromancer because we felt that adding a new class for the 20th anniversary would be like kind of a cool thing. It's like, well, that's phrased very specifically.
It definitely gives it more of that one-off feeling than like a this is our modus operandi going forward.
Yeah. Though they also went through, a lot of trouble going through and porting over the Blizzard store to, like the North American, European regions.
That's true.
That, at least maybe we might see the addition of like some pretty cool like cosmetic items or something along those lines that we can go through and get. It's something that they were really hesitant to do at first, like in StarCraft 2, introducing like skin options, and now they've like completely doubled down on that one. With going through and adding in like purchasable skins and textures, so you can like really diversify the way your army looks compared to others, and maybe like having like full like transmog packs that you can purchase all a WoW would be something that they go for in the future.
That's not a bad idea, and that's definitely something that could be given some announcement time too, to say like, hey, we have all these art assets that we've been working on, and we added this shop because that's actually something I feel like a lot of people. I think Dread was kind of one of the people who was like, hey, keep this idea in the back of your head. There's a shop in the game now, and that could lead to a lot of future things. And I think a lot of us think about it, but then quickly forget about it because we're like, oh yeah, no, D3 microtransactions, like, too much auction house kind of feels like, so we'll never see that. But I mean, you don't build that infrastructure just for a one-time use, right? Because they could have just left no shop in the game, unless there was
the structure was already there.
From the Chinese?
Yeah, like the Chinese and Russian servers.
So you think they just borrowed whatever they had over there and brought that to us?
I'm pretty sure. Because all of the assets and the mechanics are in like the North American and European builds. That's when they went through, like before the PTR, when that was introduced, like for the Chinese release, how they went through and said, hey, look, there's going to be some stuff that you're going to data mine in the builds.
Right.
So it's like it is there. It's just going through the trouble of actually fully implementing it within our builds, and then adding the Necromancer into it.
Okay, so I guess that takes a little bit of the steam away from what I was going to say, which was, if you're enabling this thing for just a one-time purchase, seems kind of like a waste of resources.
Yeah, but I mean, it also is one of those things that they just as easily could have. Pointed you towards, if you want to buy the Necromancer, go to the web store.
Yeah.
Instead of having it purchasable in game. So they did go through the trouble of activating that on our build to allow us to do that. With hopefully the ability to add some other stuff in the future.
That would be cool. I want to play one more level of Devil's Advocate here. The only thing I can think of that would support them doing that without there necessarily needing to be yet another reason down the road is that I think there's a little bit of player psychology where if you're in the universe of the game, right, you're in there playing your Demon Hunter as normal, someone pops into your game, they have a necro, it's all, skeletons flying all over the place, corpses blowing stuff up, you're like, damn, I want that. It's very easy for you to just pop out of your game that you're currently in, like, oh, there's a shop right there, and then just buy, rather than like, wait, where do I have to go, which website, like, keeping the whole like player not breaking that level of fantasy of being within Diablo and just making a snap purchase, a snap decision, versus the more you have to search for it and Google it, then you can talk yourself out of it by the time you get to the website,
Well, that's a very good point. Very good point. Well, I'll say probably it was worth the investment to do it from that perspective.
I mean, honestly, even if it sells them, what, like 1,000 more, that's, 1,000 more than if those people wouldn't have gone the extra step to get it.
Yeah, and for something that probably wouldn't take too terribly long to actually implement into the build and just make sure that everything is working. Because at the beginning of the beta, we did see that there were a lot of problems with the shop, especially on the European realm. So it definitely was not a switch, that they just flicked and the shop was implemented. There were a lot of problems getting it going that first week.
That's true. I mean, I would love to. I think I would be a person that at first would be like, I'm not gonna buy some transmogs, and I'm gonna see you in your transmogs because you totally bought in. I'm like, well, fuck, I'm gonna buy some transmogs.
That's really cool.
Right?
Oh, that really goes with those wings I like.
Oh
How do I
man,
get those boots?
such a stickler for matching the wings and the. Oh gosh, I never thought I was
I
gonna be a transmogger.
I always try and have to find a build that matches the Andariel wings. Those are by far my favorite.
They're pretty. I think they work really nicely with a lot of the Necro stuff too.
It does, because it's all, the Andariel's wings, kind of like that pale flesh, so it works with a lot of the color schemes. Even like the Tragol's set, you can go through and tint it certain colors to get it to work.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning a couple of episodes back, like, even if you dye that Trigouls, there's still some of that like red that comes through and stuff. And I was messing with that, I think, a little towards the pre season 11, and man, there are some really cool things you can do there.
Yep. It was also sidetrack, something else for this season. I never realized that I had never actually gotten the transmog for the Soul Stone from the 20th anniversary.
Wait, you didn't get it?
I got it. I'd never equipped it for the transmog.
Oh.
Because I was going through and it's like, you know what would look really cool? The Soul Stone in this one. Wait, how don't I have it? That's weird. Wait, I have to equip it. I never used it. I immediately got it and just went in my stash tab. So I now have the transmog. And so that's actually I use in my the transmog for my pestilence build.
Oh, nice. I feel like that one works really. We're getting into like the fashion part of the show.
We're entering the fashion corner now. This is the fashion district of Westmarch, everybody.
Oh yes, get your garments. I was just gonna quickly say that I think that one actually nicely matches the Trigul wings because you get like the red theme going through your
very
setup.
much so.
All right. Well, did we want to finish up besides any other transmog talk in terms of season 11 or Necro or any of that business? It was a pretty comprehensive discussion there.
I think so. And that's, I guess it's. I say that's something that we'll just have to like wait and see, but of course that wait and see is still 2.5 months away, or depending upon when we get the, because it's, it depends. If there's going to be any like kind of like, if there's going to be any patch before BlizzCon, we should actually be getting the PTR soon, maybe even by the next episode.
Yeah.
Even if
about
it's
1 month.
Yeah, even if it's just going to be some small, minor numbers changes and such. So who knows? By our next episode, we might be talking about the fixes that they have in store for Land of the Dead and such. They did say that as long as there wasn't anything that was like really big or game breaking, we wouldn't see any adjustments during the season. They would wait till after the season before they did it. So I guess we'll have to we might wait and see, but it could also be that we might have a repeat of was it last year? My years are running together where we did not have a new patch in between seasons.
Yeah, I think that was
BlizzCon.
That was the first one where it was like 7 into 8. I
Yep.
want to say. Yeah, you got it exactly right. So yeah, that could actually be history repeating itself.
Yeah, so we could find out in a couple of weeks whether we'll be getting a patch for the next season or not.
Yeah, good call on that PTR. So tune in next week, but the show's not over.
Yes.
We still got more for you.
Yep, because this is a topic that's going to be like near and dear to your heart, but challenge rifts. We've now had a couple of weeks, couple of iterations of going through and getting a feel for it, seeing how those leaderboards have been working out. We talked about that on the last episode. Again, big shout out to Mikey. You're freaking getting it done, man.
Oh yeah, still staying consistent.
Yep. But there's a couple things that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so the last time we had started to, we gave this a little bit of time at the end of the last episode, and I wanted to circle back to it this time around because one of the things you asked me was, if you could do things to challenge rifts sort of on a more broader scale, how would you either improve them or change them? And so I just remember reading a few Reddit posts, a lot of them either authored or pushed forward by Bagstone, who, like you mentioned, he had some builds over on Diablo fans. Like I think he's either a mod or like heavily involved with what they have going on over there. So, he's an awesome guy, does like a lot of the website references that you probably use, like D3 resource and all those things. So shout out to him. He's very into the challenge rift scene, as am I. And so there's kind of a little bit at stake here because we don't want to see this feature just become another feature. You know, we don't want it to become a brawling where, hey, it exists, but, you know, people don't really get too into it because there's so much potential, you know, with the fact that there's leaderboards attached to this, there's a reward already set there, and there are players that are starting to get a feel for it now that the season is live because you can directly impact your season by going and doing the challenge rift to get even just the reward cash every week. One of the things that Bagstone originally brought up was right now they're very separated by region, and we kind of touched on this last episode where you might be limited by the fact that it pulls a greater rift that's done by a player. We actually learned more about how the whole greater rift selection works, so maybe before I start with what I'm going to say, let me back up, because one of the last greater rifts, the monk one from last week, there was quite an uproar because it was really, really bad in the Americas. Like, it was just, you could barely beat the time. It was very squishy. Like, it had a weird setup. There was like a legacy witching hour. Like, it really felt like it was a troll build. It felt like there was no QA behind why this was picked. And so a lot of people were just like, how do they come up with the challenge rifts? Like, what is the behind the scenes on this? We need to know more. And I guess kind of in line with the CM's, you know, ode to doing more communication with the community, Tivolier popped in and just offered some more details on challenge rifts. So basically he said, hey, we've been seeing some great feedback on this week's challenge rift, the monk one in particular, and the featured builds in general.
God.
What do you got?
That was bad. The monk one.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. Oh, gosh. I guess if you didn't try it, it was basically like a single target, like punch your way through the whole thing. And you had exploding palm as your only like source of killing maybe more than one thing at a time. It was just bad. There was no dash. There was no like a monk build without dashing strike makes zero sense. I don't know how that happens.
Yep, you're hoofing it through like the entire rift, and you had zero survivability.
It was a bad rift. Like everything. Yeah.
We will never talk about this build ever again.
Never. This one time, and this will be it. Tiller then went on to say there's been some confusion about how the builds are chosen each week, so I wanted to offer clarity on that. The build chosen is actually picked by an algorithm, so there's no person involved with this. And they're saying we're continuing to refine this as time goes on. Each week, it picks a new build that's been used by a player in the past week, and it makes that the new build for the next week's challenge rift. We're aiming for every build to offer some variety and accessibility, and this is partly why you won't often see the top performing Greater Rift builds in this mode. While they're a lot of fun in adventure mode, there's a long learning curve and they require people to master it. That's not going to be as good of a fit for this short-lived weekly challenge. For the same reason, we also reviewed this week's monk build and we decided it was not as accessible as we would like our builds to be, so we're going to tweak the algorithm and discourage it from selecting similar builds in the future. So while everyone's...
Thank goodness.
Yes. Welcome change. While everyone will have a different take on which builds are fun and which builds are exciting to play, any build that's picked should at least incorporate ways for you to survive, like you mentioned, while using it. We'll keep working to refine which builds the algorithm picks, and as always, we appreciate the feedback. So that kind of ties into the idea that, you know, there's the algorithm. The algorithm is the thing that they sort of set in motion, and Adam Poole, who's kind of the mastermind behind Challenge Rifts, that we got to talk to at Blizzcon last year, was sort of telling us about how the algorithm was coming together. And it seemed really cool because they could do things like filter for certain items or filter out like no rare items in the build and things like that.
Yeah, and also it would like de-weight items that had already been used in a previous build, or you know, a previous class that had already been selected, so that way it wouldn't cycle through to the same class until all the 6 others had been selected.
Or I guess 7 now.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't cycle back to the class until the other 6.
Oh, duh. Yeah. Math.
Yeah.
Well done, you got it. So this thing, this machine, this computer program is the one that's sort of making these changes or making these selections. And of course you can imagine that, like, with the builds being picked as recently as they're being picked, which was that was a detail that we didn't quite know yet, so it's within the last week of Greater Rifts that have been run, not like time forever. That kind of makes it interesting because it seems like if you know the parameters of how a build is picked, which is that 6 minute to 7 minute clear, like few deaths, you could really game it and you could try to get a really bad build in there, which is honestly what I feel like happened with this monk build. I kind of feel like someone was trolling.
Most of them so far have seemed like they're trolling.
It's true. Like
yeah, a lot of these are just like they've got like extremely questionable gearing or cube decisions, or like Boon of the Hoarders abound, and it's bad.
Yeah, I don't know. And I think maybe so we're kind of diving back into the community part of this and the feedback that I've been seeing. One of the things people have been mentioning is that because the Great Rift level is where it's at, when a lot of these challenge rifts are being chosen, it could be that you're catching a lot of players in a mode where they're still gearing, right? Like, yeah. Because even if you're choosing, like, let's say the week previous is still a non-seasonal week, there's still going to be plenty of players who are either coming back to the game or brand new, like running these Greater Rift 30s and 35s and things that are getting chosen, and they might just not have the gear that makes a build make sense, right? They might not yet have a Lion's Claw for an Uliana's, or they might not have a Chain of Shadows for an Impale, and you're like, these are staple items in these builds, but these people are still getting whatever clears they're getting, and that's how these builds appear picked by the algorithm. So it almost feels as if, and I kind of offered this up in a self-serving manner, but it kind of ties into what we're talking about. I was like, wouldn't it be great if there was a Diablo job that was just a Challenge Rift curator, where someone's job was to legit work with the algorithm. Whatever it picks, you go and you test it. Even if it's picking a bunch of ones regionally, like you go and just say, like, this build makes sense. I can play this. You don't have to be an expert Diablo player. You don't have to be someone who's going to crush the challenge, but at least you get your hands on it and say, before this goes out to the community,
just someone to sit there and Google, is Manticore used in an unhallowed essence? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, didn't return any results. Okay, I guess this might not be a thing.
Okay.
Like, honestly, and that's a position that I also, now to truly answer your question, I wouldn't mind seeing exist, because you can totally evolve that as you evolve challenge rifts. And now let's say this person is in charge of community engagement and really getting people into challenge rifts. Like right now, a lot of people don't know you can run groups in challenge rifts. Like we did it on stream and people are like, wait, why are 3 of you in there? How does that work? So like there's just info that's missing on challenge rifts and could be fleshed out. And if there's just someone that's either writing these like more blog posts, covering more of the other regions for the top 50s, and engaging with a community that is going to build and develop, like, hey, maybe we create a league. Like, this is the idea I keep pushing. You create this league where the challengers don't just exist individually. Now, over the course of 4 weeks or 6 weeks, and Blizzard, with their tons of money, can put up some sort of prize and be like, hey, you'll earn this treasure goblin bank for the person that has the most, top 10 appearances within the 6-week span of these challengers, or 7 weeks to go through every class. And it was kind of some of the ideas we were excitedly tossing about even at the last BlizzCon as we learned about challengers for the first time.
Well, I mean, this also kind of goes into an idea that I've been throwing out there for forever, whereas you have a preset, predetermined challenge rift, or you have like the preset rift where everything is exactly the same, and you see, how you can go through and play it. Of course, my idea would have people use like their own characters or proxies, and it would be specifically like handcrafted rifts, not things that are kind of like pre-selected from something that someone's run to give you like a certain like barrier of entry. But it would be something that was designed like with like a multiplayer team in mind. It's like, well, how many supports do I want to particularly run? Or it's like, well, this team, it's like they're going edgy and they're running like 3 DPS and only a single support just because they have to go through and kill like the boss on like the 4th level a little bit faster so that they can speed through into like the 5th and 6th. But I mean, this is definitely like a step in that direction. I'm not sure if there's quite enough kind of like I want to say, it's like the word that's coming to mind is content, but I guess there's not quite enough substance to the challenge rift themselves to really kind of like propel it quite up to that level yet. But I think it's a great first step. And that from there, that it would be, it's like even if it's just like one a month or one a season or something like that, what they've done with the Fractured Realms in Act 4 would make for like really cool things that they could do to make like extremely long like kind of like Greater Rift levels,
like
but
a one
also
floor.
yeah, and then also just like going through and adding in like objectives into the map. It's like you can't you get to the end of one floor and you can't go on to the next, but there's a boss like Rakanoth or something's waiting for you at the end that you have to beat before you can go to step 2, and so it will build upon different strengths and have to have like more of a diverse party in order to get through it. It wouldn't be something that you would just bring in like your Greater Rift team to accomplish. Maybe there's something where you have to activate a pedestal, but the pedestal's on an island, that's like 40 yards away, so you have to have a wizard or a necromancer to teleport over to it. Something that just kind of like forces class diversity or something along those lines.
I mean, I love that idea because what it does is it unifies multiple features. So when you're talking about something like the Challenge Rift, which introduces this static idea, and you're talking about the Cursed Realm Rift / areas, now you're introducing that into the mix as well. And now what you're talking about with these objectives almost sounds like the incorporation of bounty type stuff, right? Like I'm almost imagining, hey, here's a jar of souls at the end of your first floor, and if you can clear like 200 enemies out of this, you get like a time bonus or a free power pylon or something. Like you could go crazy with it.
Yeah, and and then I remember there was one instance where Wyatt Chang was going and talking about how he kind of like liked the concept of the idea, but in instances like that, there's no way that someone that's behind can catch up. And so it's like if you have something where it loses its interest if someone just dominates like the competition, because then there's nothing there. But adding in like multiple objectives where someone can get risky and split their 4-man up into teams of 2 to try and complete like a multiple objective floor in one go, instead of like playing it safe and just having the team stay together and hit the objectives in sequence. So just different things that you could add in as kind of like catch-up mechanics, so that way it can make it interesting. It's like, oh, he's gonna go through and attempt like this really risky frame skip or something like that, just because he's like a minute behind, just
right.
different components like that they could do. And it's something you just go through, you push out the map, and make it like a 15 floor like Greater Rift, like 95 or 100 or something like that people have to go through and fight through. And it's something that will take like maybe 30-45 minutes for you to go through and do at first, but then as you get the speed down, it gives you, if it's something that's longer, it gives you that longer time frame with which to cut corners and really shave time off. Because when you look at like the challenge rifts, they're so short that it's really hard that like the person that's like phenomenally ahead is like a couple seconds, because there's not much else that you can do to really squeeze time out there.
Yeah, or maybe the end result comes down to one globe went this way, one went that way. But I think you actually hit on a really interesting and I think key point to this, which is the whole idea of the catch-up mechanics and having it be a longer sort of timed thing, or a longer adventure sort of thing. Oh my goodness, don't lose this point. What was I gonna say? My brain is melting, man. This is like so on point right now, and I'm so mad at myself for forgetting what I was gonna say. But I have stalled for time, and it still hasn't come to me. Damn it. Oh yes, okay, here it is. So the one thing that you were mentioning was like the riskier strats, right? We've seen examples of this. So when you think about the idea of in a race where it gets uninteresting when someone falls behind or someone dies or something like that.
Yeah.
What I honestly was thinking about as you said this was, at SGDQ, AGDQ, they'll have these races like Metroid Prime races, right? Like with Zoast and all those people are really skilled runners.
Yeah.
But there are so many different strats you can do based on the category that they're running. And some will go for a riskier strat if they realize, hey, this guy's 1 minute ahead. If I do a risky strat, I can save that minute. But man, if I screw it up, I'm dead, right? So it adds that drama, even if the person's still behind. If there are catch-up mechanics or riskier things to do,
yeah, like
it still keeps you involved.
Yeah, like when they're doing like 100% completion as opposed to any percent. You know, it's
Yeah.
like that. There's different ways that you can go about collecting like the different energy tanks and missile upgrades that might be riskier but faster if they can pull it off.
Yeah, yeah, and that I guess that ties into your idea where if it's a longer route, there are more ways to go through it, more ways to optimize, and potentially skin the cat, 3 different ways, and they all kind of come out near each other, but some have, a faster middle or a slower beginning, or
Yeah, and it just also makes it more, interesting or entertaining to watch because if it's going through and it's just something that's done in 2 minutes, it's like there's not a lot to like really go through and get hyped for. But if
don't
it's
build
something,
a story.
exactly, you want something with just like a little bit more time to it, so that way, like you said, you can get the story behind it. You have a little bit more pull. You're a little bit more involvement. It's like you're already like 7 minutes in, and it's like, oh shit, he just died. It's like, their monk just died. They were like a minute and a half ahead. They're completely one floor ahead of the other team, but now their support died, and so now it's like they have to go through and like get back up, or something even worse, like the Necromancer died, and so then now they have to get their bone armor back up. They have to get all the mages back up, and the essence flowing again, or something along those lines.
Yeah, man. Yeah, there's so much room, and just to tie it back to the CRs, like the challenge risks really do feel like the base. Like it almost reminds me of the release of Diablo 3. Like there's this base layer. It has kinks. It has some things that are really awesome about it. But man, you can just see the potential if you start to build on top.
And there is a lot of potential that's there. And this, I think this is like a great appetizer.
Yep. I mean, that's actually a really excellent, what is that? Simile, allegory? Way to tie it all together. Because yeah, they could prepare a delicious dinner based off this appetizer if they really want, and I guess that's kind of just where my point ends on this, is that I just hope that it's a priority. I know there's so many other things going on, right? We just spent so much time talking class balance and GRs and stuff. Like there's so much else to work on, but you just put this feature in. I really hope that it has more support.
Yeah, and I guess it's another one. We're just a couple months away from BlizzCon. So we'll have to see what they have in store for us there.
Yep, I am definitely excited. And one of the things, I don't remember if we talked about this on the last show, but some observant people have been noticing. Oh, actually, I don't think we did, because you were crushing dreams in the middle of Twitter. One of the things that people have been noticing is that the gear store is down, and the Blizzard Twitter account has been teasing at some key art and things like that, and one of the key art pieces was the Necromancer, a really awesome looking art piece for the female Necro. And of course everyone's like, oh, it only says Diablo, doesn't say Diablo 3. Regardless of how you feel about that, I like your stance where they've been doing that already for quite some time.
Yeah, I think the last like Diablo key art poster that actually said Diablo 3 was the one by dang it, I can't remember what his last name is, but it was one of the God, now I can't even think of it's one of the Sons of the Storm artists. He did like the Diablo cover art for, I think it was the 2011 BlizzCon, and that was the last time that it actually mentioned Diablo 3, and that after launch it's only ever said Diablo, for the last few years.
Yeah, they've been doing that, so I wouldn't read too much into it. But in any case, one of the things that is in actuality a fact is the gear store is currently down and set to come back up. I think, was it August 4th or August 8th, sometime in the near future. So then we might be seeing some of those BlizzCon items for the pre-sale and whatnot. And I love me some gear, so I'm excited to see what they got.
Oh yes indeed.
Get your wallets ready.
It'll be coming soon. We still don't have a sale date for the virtual tickets yet either.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and then I guess with that would also be the in-game goodies tied in. So we'll have to wait and see on the timing on that. So definitely, the ramp up is starting soon. And it's funny to be looking forward when also in recent times these websites out here have been looking backwards.
And speaking of looking backwards, I just want to rewind real quick.
Mm-hmm.
There's just one last thing. I don't remember whether we mentioned it on the last episode or not. But while we were on the topic of going through and talking about like transmogs and in-game goodies and stuff like that, there is the war chest for StarCraft 2.
Oh yeah, and I don't think we talked about this.
Yeah. So there is the war chest is basically you can go through and pay a certain amount of money to unlock like a couple of like little visuals and portrait frames for StarCraft 2, and a portion of that money that you use to buy that bundle goes towards the prize pool for the WCS, the StarCraft 2 global finals at BlizzCon. Mm-hmm. And so it's like a way for the community to contribute money towards the prize pool, and you get some really cool cosmetic things along the way. If you buy the what is it? I believe it's if you buy the combined loot chest, which they refer to as like the BlizzCon bundle, which is $25. You actually get in-game goodies for all the other games. So you can get the a reskin of the probe pet from the Legacy of the Void Collector's Edition. It's a reskin, so it's the Tal'Darim. It's like a black and red probe that you can get as an in-game goodie for Diablo if you just want to be a completionist and have everything. You don't have to do anything else in StarCraft 2 besides going through and buying that pack, but if you do decide to go through and play, the war chest unlocks like a quest for you in StarCraft 2. The more games that you play, you unlock additional skins and other portraits and stuff like that for you in StarCraft 2. But if you only care about the Diablo stuff, you don't need anything else.
So what you're telling me is $25 microtransaction. I got a probe.
Yes.
I mean, that one sounds like it matches the Tri-Ghoul wings, kind of red and black.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. It's definitely, it's very fitting for Diablo.
Okay, all right. Keep my wallet open for that one, maybe.
Yep. And so sorry for stopping the segue, but can seg away.
Is that how that word works?
I don't know, but we're making it work that way now.
Oh man! All right, I like it. Rewrite all the rules. So yeah, I was just gonna kind of shunt us over towards a article that both of us
completely ruined the flow.
Yeah, just a little bit. So it's all right. It was necessary because that's how we roll here. Mm-hmm. So Kotaku wrote an article that's actually really cool, and I guess it's less of an article, more of a book excerpt, which is what's got Nineball particularly excited about this because it's something that we'll be able to purchase and read more about. But this particular book looks at some of the different disasters, if you will, of development with games, and obviously, famously, Diablo 3 has its fair share of stake in that realm with, the Era 37 launch and all sorts of things, snafus along the way, from growing pains with the original version of Diablo 3 and kind of how we came to where we are today with Reaper of Souls. And this excerpt that Kotaku has is really great.
Yeah, because it goes all the way back to the beginning, like you mentioned, like the Era 37, but it also gives a little bit more history on the figures like Jay Wilson, Josh, and others. A little bit of their a lot of their backstory even before coming to work at Blizzard. So it kind of gives you an even more complete picture of what things are like, or what things were like, I should say, during the development and all the things that led up to the game that we have now.
Yeah, and the excerpt's kind of cool because it almost feels like Josh is kind of the main figure that the story is kind of weaved through. Just his arrival at Blizzard, what he was working on, talking with Jay Wilson, and then, having Jay Wilson as kind of the connection that got him in the door there. And then, the big moments where the job opening comes for the game director after Jay decides to step down, and the transition and all the, just some of the, if you're ever curious, like we always are, about the inner workings of Blizzard, what goes on behind those closed doors, and, all the cows that don't exist and stuff, you get a little glimpse at it.
Yeah. And I think that was one of the interesting parts for me was just going through and talking about just kind of how much of an influence like the console had on the game, but of course not in the way that people attribute it to, because everyone is like, oh, it's like they ruined Diablo 3 because they were always planning on making it for console. But it was actually it was changes that it wasn't until they ported D3 to the console and they felt less inclined to have to be beholden to this is how we did it in Diablo 2, and so they were able to make some changes and go take things in different directions because, well, it just makes sense for the console, and then later, bringing and folding that back into the PC to make it just like an overall better experience.
Yeah, it almost actually makes you wonder where we'd be with the PC version right now if the console didn't exist as this sort of like sandbox freeform, like Bad Boy Land, really, where they could just do whatever the hell they wanted. It seemed from this excerpt and some of the things that we've heard along the way, they really had a lot of leeway to go away from the norms, like you just mentioned. The D2 history, and Josh kind of mentioning that he didn't come from that background. Like, he didn't have the pre-positions or the sort of back of your mind, like, we need to live up to this successor in his head when he was approaching the console project. He's just like, we want to tweak these skills because they just feel better for console. Diablo to be damned or whatever. So it makes you wonder, honestly, like, if they didn't realize that they wanted to make a console version, like, would we still be dealing with, loot that doesn't feel, enticing, or loot that doesn't drop, or like, it's just kind of you almost wonder if it's a perfect storm the other direction too, where it's safe, like the article ceremoniously says how Blizzard saved Diablo 3 from disaster.
Yep.
Really nice catchy one there. So yeah, definitely worth a read. It's not a short one, but it's definitely very interesting, and of course, again, ties into a whole book that you can purchase. Yeah,
and it's the actual name of the book itself is Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, and it's not just about Diablo 3. It also goes in. They mention Uncharted, the development behind Uncharted 4, and Star Wars 1313, which was like the last project that LucasArts worked on before they were shuttered by Disney. And it's up for pre-order now. It will release September 5th. And so it's a book of like a lot of the behind the scenes of what goes on. It's the premise of it is to try and kind of like give a look into about how video games are really made. And like a lot of those things that go behind the scenes that you are never aware of.
Yeah, and I think I did recall there was a mention to, like, Destiny and some of the shared hardships that they had. Like, because we've talked, I think it was actually just last episode, we kind of talked about how those teams are almost sisters or intertwined with each other just because of the camaraderie that was there from, hey, we know what you're going through. Yeah. Let's share some ideas on how to fix this.
Yeah, and how, Josh and others went out there to actually go through and, like, sit down and kind of, like, have, like, a kind of like, let's think of ways that we can, like, knuckle through this. These are our experiences. What are you dealing with?
Yeah, it's cool to see that, support across companies and things. All right, and so I guess with that,
there was one other article though.
Oh yeah,
yeah. IGN also released a 20 years retrospective of Diablo, going all the way back to the original. And they did get a lot of the big names, such as David Brevik, Rob Foote. I think they even got Eric Schleifer to go through and talk about some things, because the Schleifer brothers, Schaefer brothers, we haven't heard from in quite some time. But
it's a rarity.
Yeah, but I am going to go out there and say that unfortunately I have not had the time to read that particular article, so I can't talk much about what's in it.
And that's why I forgot about it, because I also haven't read it.
I'm sorry. Yay. We will have a more informed discussion on this one next episode.
Yes.
Promise.
In fact, we did this on purpose because we want you to also read it and maybe send us some thoughts about it, and then we'll do like a book review / article review. Clearly that's what we intended. So go ahead and check that one out for IGN. That's 20 years of Diablo, an IGN retrospective.
Yep.
Boom.
Sorry. Actually, sorry about this one. not sorry. Actually, sorry.
Yeah, for sure. But hey, more content. Actually, it's just foreshadowing, a teaser. More content to look forward to.
Exactly. And as you were saying.
Yeah, so I guess that now brings us to the end of the news. And last time on the show, I berated you all because I was like, where the F are the emails? And man, you guys answered the call. So, all right, we got some emails, some spicy emails too. I think we'll just go ahead and dig right into these since we are starting to run long on time here. We'll try and power through.
Getting close to that 2-hour mark. So yeah, go ahead. You want to take the first one?
I will. All right, this first one comes in.
All right.
Hey, there it is.
Tying back to a conversation before the show.
All right. This one comes in from Rasmussen, and he says, "Hey guys, I've been in the community for a long time and in the guild for the first couple seasons. Was wondering if there was room for me to get in again for season 11. My battle, Blizzard app name is Rasmussen," and he gives us the numbers there. He says, "Thanks and keep up the great podcast." So right now, there's still the stupid clan error. This was one that did not get fixed between the patches, unfortunately, where we can't see who it is that's requesting into the clan. So you can actually go into the in-game client, request to join BlizzPro, and it'll just show us that, hey, there's a pending request. It's been active for this many days, but we can't see what name is tied to that. So I would honestly say, for those of you who want to make directed requests, wait for an officer to be online. And however you track that is how you track that. But basically, like, you can just click on their name and it'll say if they're online, you can send them a message. And if they're not available online, then you won't have the option to send them a message. But just look for that and just see, like, hey, can I get in? And we'll look at the numbers and stuff. But right now, the numbers are still kind of crazy. We have probably two.
Season.
Yeah, it's still that influx of, all the people coming back. So we're pretty filled up, and no inactivity really. But, as time wears on, there will definitely be some spots that open and things like that. So stay patient. We'll try and get as many people, fresh blood, fresh meat in as we can.
Not to hark on the lacking of features for clans, but it would be nice to see who's trying to get in.
That would be nice.
Please fix.
PLS.
Yep. Our next email here comes from Absolute0314. Greetings, gentlemen. I recently just started listening to your podcast lately after getting back into Diablo 3 on the console, and on your latest episode, 121, Season of Death, you spoke about how Blizzard collaborated with Bungie on fixing certain aspects of Destiny. I'd like to further dive into that discussion with some tidbits of how one of Destiny's subclasses, the Night Stalker, was influenced by the Demon Hunter. The Night Stalker is a support-based subclass. Its super ability is Shadow Shot. The Night Stalker draws back the strings of their dusk bow, gathers energy from the void once released, fires an arrow. And once the arrow finds its target, it disintegrates the foe and sends out bolts of long tethers of void light to slow and debuff nearby enemies, ensnaring them in a trap to be finished off with well-placed headshots. This mechanic of tethering and slowing enemies down is straight out of the Demon Hunter's handbook and is essentially a tangling shot. Along with archery, the Night Stalker has the ability to throw smoke bombs, which can be used to further damage foes with the lingering damage over time effect, or have the Night Stalker go invisible, and when this happens, a text will appear saying that the vanished in smoke. Starting to sound familiar yet? Lastly, the Night Stalker has the ability to dodge out of harm's way. In Destiny it's called the Shade Step, while the Diablo counterpart is called Vault. Not to mention, one of the Demon Hunter passives is called Night Stalker. I believe this is where Bungie drew the name from. And with Destiny 2 coming out in a few months, the new subclass will emerge as well, and this one, called the Arc Strider, has taken a few notes from the Monk subclass. It's Kung Fu-esque and wielding a staff charged with lightning, and it's a lot of fun to play. Anyway, sorry for the long email, but thought that you would appreciate that little bit of info. That is pretty cool about, and it's not terribly uncommon to see, like, general, archetypes like that kind of, like, get, rehashed in different ways.
Mm-hmm. But it is, Absolute Zero does make a good point in that there's a lot of pretty close.
Yeah.
The name itself, Night Stalker.
Night Stalker. Vanish in smoke. Smoke screen.
Smoke bomb.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. It does. Whenever people talk about Destiny, it makes me want to play Destiny, but then I remember I don't play anything else besides Diablo 3.
Hey, October.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
can change. I
Yeah,
can
you
change.
can
I can
change.
quit Diablo 3 anytime I want.
That's a lie.
Y'all
You
got
don't,
any
you don't,
more
you don't
of
have
that
to. You don't have to. You don't have to quit. You just take a little bit of a break.
No, the internet told me that I can only play and have one game installed on my computer. Everything else is shit.
Well, okay. If the elders of the internet have declared that, then I guess there's no fighting with that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next email comes in from Funktropus, and he says, "You want an email?" That's the subject. This is what we're starting with.
Here we go. That
Rub
name
your
should
hands.
sound familiar.
Oh yeah. So this is listed out in points of letters here. So A, you are tubular to the max, and going through this email will have you going through how much I love going through your podcast. B, Leviathan, you want emails? I'll give you emails, with many exclamation points here. C, items of the week, they're attached. In your face, Space Coyote. D, you want exploits? I have so many exploits that John Stamos dropped a deuce when he saw my exploits. I once killed a treasure goblin. One time, I went to this place and there were some jars. I broke them to the max. A primal thingamaboob fell out. And I was all like, that's dag, yo.
And it's actually thingamaboob, not thingamabob, thingamaboob.
Thingamaboob. And then I was all like, brah, check out the tubes of the Euler to my in-game brah. And he was all like, yo, that is totally off. All the hooks and the tubes and the Eulers are mating together and producing offspring that assail the high heavens with their stupendacular, amaze, awesome saucelessness. E, the primal thingamaboob isn't even attached to this
word.
Oh, I love it. It's not even attached to this email. You know why? Because it was a Herodic freaking hamburger. 9-ball. We are like totes my goats, soulmates, and the primal finding. It's all like, here's a primal Herodic hamburger. That's useful for my monk build that is rolling Torment 2. Bitchin' kitchen. I'm gonna augment that with a piece of poop. F. By the way, I'm totally farming for a primal spectrum because I don't even know what it does. Funktropus. Jesus Christ.
And just as a disclaimer here on the Westmarch Workshop, we do not recommend augmenting Herodic hamburger with poop. That is against health safety protocols, and will definitely get you fined and your restaurant closed.
We cannot stand behind that, nor will we sit down and poop that.
Yep. You want to take the next one?
Yes, I do, because boom, another one coming in from Funktropus, titled "I Totally Forgot." You guys are dicks.
There it is.
I love that was like a separate email. Just like, what else can I just get him with?
What else can I do?
One more thing.
That
All
was,
right, yep.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Yeah, thank you for answering the call.
Yes,
that was definitely an email. That's what that was.
Yep, and if you don't remember who Funktropus is, then, well, you should probably have figured it out from all of the references within the email of a certain someone that left a certain iTunes review a couple episodes ago. To the max.
To the max. 5 out of 5 Nephilims on that email.
This next email comes in from Tokay's Nut. What a dick. His words, not mine. Sup, fellas. I heard your cry for emails in the last podcast and decided to stop in and say, oh hi. This season is so full of many firsts for me. My first season starting in Necro, my first season starting completely solo, and my first season as a dad.
Hey.
I have a 3-week-old baby. Holy shit. I thought that raising a child and playing video games would be at odds with each other. However, Diablo has been a great tool in helping my wife get some much-needed sleep. I lay my baby in my lap, she'll fall asleep, I play Diablo, and my wife will get some rest. Everyone wins. Isn't that amazing? Speaking of winning, the first weekend has been awesome. I've completed all the way up to Destroyer. The new active playstyles of the Necromancer have been a lot of fun to learn. I still haven't found a speed build for GRs that works as smoothly as I would like, but there's a lot left to learn. I don't mind testing out new builds. As far as goals go, my non-seasonal derping with the Necromancer earned me a GR 85 in 11-ish minutes, so I feel like low 90s by the end of the season isn't too much of a stretch. I would like to hit Paragon 1000, but who knows how much time I'll have to play as my daughter grows. Either way, I'm happy with the Necro, I'm happy with the new patch, and I'm really enjoying being a gamer dad. Sincerely, Toge's Nut. What a dick.
What a dick.
Well, congratulations, man.
Yeah, dude, enjoy fatherhood.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a dad someday.
Maybe
even a dream dad.
A dream dad. I thought Lala was the one that was gonna be a dad first.
Yeah, she did beat me to it.
Yep.
She won that race. Damn it. Alright, well, moving right along here. Got another email. This one comes from Net Smasher. And it has an item of the week in there, but he also says, "Sup fellas, hope you're well. I'm enjoying the Necro build. It's fun to have a whole new class to discover. I submit this item of the week for you. It dropped on the first day of reaching level 70, and it is the best Compass Rose I've ever gotten in 11 seasons of play. I will use it well. Also, may I please be let back into the clan, Net Smasher." Of course, again, noting that, actually, I think we did get him back in. I think he was one of the ones that I was just like, oh, pick a thing. I think he's in. So, if not, though,
buy lottery.
Yeah, there you go. Lucky day. Lucky day. But if not, then same, message goes out to you that we're trying to get everyone in and can't see the names and all that good stuff. So, stay patient, my friend.
And we have another set of emails from Funktropus. I declare myself Funktropus. There's a very interesting way that he just starts all of his emails. Leviathan disturbed my slumber by requesting emails. Verily, I shall follow through. You want primal stuff? Attached. In my investigation of emotional states incurred in the host individual upon the discovery of primals in the wild, I have discovered that there are 3 states that have been generated in my own person. Oh god. Tubular, supertubular agilistic expialidocious, discovery of a primal manticore while marauding it up. Awesome, oh crap! Discovery of a primal enchantress token that gives the magical lady access to all skills.
Magical lady.
And finally, blink blink. Oh, wait, what? What? Tubular!
Top-notch acting.
Discovery of the primal attached to this email, which we'll be showing in a little bit. An important question for you fellers is, when are y'all going through and farming to go through finding the primals that you'll go through and augment at some point? Do you use the word tubular when you find them, or is it super tubular agilistic expedition? Or I suppose y'all might go through and use some other word. Funktropus, tubular to the max.
Oh my god.
With the follow-up, because I already attached one of the primals that was in the original You Want Emails email, I guess the time I was having was way too tubular. I stand by the tubulariferousness.
Wow. Man, he really took it to the max.
I want what he's having.
I'll have what she's having. Oh my god. Wow. Yeah. Yep. Those were also emails.
Yep.
And a really great job with the dramatic reading there.
Dramatic reading.
Oh gosh. Alright, well, powering through, even though I'm pretty sure that melted my brain, I have one last email here from a familiar face, /name, Dread Scythe. Says, "What's up, fellas? Here is a simple tale of 2, kinda, primal. You see, I had a delay to Season 11, but Shep and Mark got me up to speed. I got my 70 GR down, and I was aiming for my first primal. Along the way, I got a poor man's primal bombardier. It's almost perfect for a regular legendary. How quaint." And of course, there's some items attached here. Then a little while longer, the real primal dropped. Almost perfect itemized UE chest. And you might be seeing that in just a moment here. So he says, "Keep on slaying, you guys. 1 month till we're in the new house for good and normalcy." For those of you who don't know, of course, Dread is in the process of moving locations from New York, the great state, to Pennsylvania, Pennswoods, and having a lot of fun with that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, moving. It's such a great experience. It's so much fun.
Yeah, you know a little bit about that, right?
Just a little.
In recency.
Yes.
Awesome.
And
Thank you all for those emails. Goddamn.
yes, definitely appreciate it. Those were definitely tubular to the max.
To the max.
To the max. And so, going on, we of course have the much anticipated items of the week.
Week.
Our first email here comes in from Net Smasher. He sent us in this ancient primal rose or compass rose. I'm getting my stats mixed up. But this ancient compass rose has been re-rolled for the base damage on the ring, so 105 to 190 base damage. 615 intellect, critical hit damage increased by 46%, critical strike chance increased by 6%, 34% extra gold from monsters, and a socket. So quite a lovely, lovely little ring there.
Yeah, it's hard to get a good compass rose, and he's got this one and it's ancient, so you can get the augment later.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
Very beautiful thing.
Tubular.
Speaking of tubular, our next item comes in, and now this one makes me very jelly. This is a primal Crisbin sentence sent in by Funktropus. This is one of his tubular expialidocious items that he went and sent in. He did send in 2, but we will only ever show 1 per person. Get that right, no one's minion. Still remember you and the Yangs. But this Primal Crisbins rolled with 650 intelligence, was re-rolled for 6% critical hit chance, reduces all resource costs by 8%, and with a level 61 augment for 305 intellect. Health globe increased by 38,000, and of course the perfect roll on a primal of the 100% increased damage against slowed enemies, and then tripled if they're inflicted against any other type of control impairing effect. And they have a level 77 Bane of the Stricken equipped in there for good measure.
Very nice.
Very nice indeed.
Oh wait, sorry. Tubular expialidocious.
Yes, super tubular expialidocious.
Mm-hmm.
Super tubular agilistic alidocious. Something, I don't know.
Nailed it.
Yes, and then our last one for the evening comes in from, of course, Dread Scythe. Here is his primal Unhallowed Essence chest, the Cage of the Hellborn. This bad boy is 650 dexterity, 650 vitality, increases hatred generation by 1.5 per second. If it's 150 per second, dear God.
Oh, man.
Reduces damage taken from ranged attacks by 7% in 12 discipline with 3 sockets. Hasn't been re-rolled, hasn't been touched. So it can still go through and change that hatred regeneration up as you might want.
You can get some auras there, call it a day.
Mm-hmm.
Very tasty.
Very much so indeed. And that will bring us to the end of our items of the week there. And so if you want to send in your items or you want to send in your own tubular emails, you just drop us a line at westmarchworkshop@blizzpro.com so we could go through and dramatically read your awesome sauce of emails or showcase your tubular loot.
Amen.
Yes. Before we go into the outro, we do have a new 5-star review on iTunes. This one comes in from Ghost Bomb, a longtime listener to the show. I listen to every episode. In my honest opinion, there is not another Diablo 3 podcast that even comes close. They are always up to date and very informed on what is happening in the community. Nineball and Leviathan are a couple of wild cards, and you can bet that there will be shenanigans and jokes of the male appendage sort. Keep up the awesome work, guys. Thank you, Ghost Bomb, for that email. As well as, I guess, kind of like a precaution to anyone that's going through and joining us here on the Westmarch Workshop. Because we're a couple of dicks.
There will be dicks.
There will be dicks. There will be dicks involved. 100%.
Mm-hmm. Moby, Richard.
Yep. All of them. We cover all the dicks.
Penis? What? Penis?
Yep, just throw that one out there.
10-15 club, you can join.
Yep, but yeah, we definitely appreciate those wonderful reviews. They are tubular, dick-filled, and 5 out of 5 Nephilims. So there you go.
Oh.
But yeah, again, if you want to go through and send us an email or want to showcase your awesome loot, please go through, drop us a line at Westmarch Workshop at blizzpro.com. You can also go through and chat with us. We're on Twitter. We're at the WM Workshop. If you want to go through, follow the show, be kept up to date as to show times, or if we have to change recordings or anything along those lines. And speaking of which, we record every other Wednesday night live here on twitch.tv/BlizzPro. We go live every other Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And while you're here, go ahead and check out all the other great Blizzard-related content that we have. Monday nights is Well Met Podcast, our Hearthstone podcast. Tuesday nights is the Heroes Power Hour, and Thursday nights is Payload, our Overwatch podcast. I almost said Overload podcast, but I caught myself, but still said it anyways. And if you like what we do here, feel free to go through, click that follow button. And if you really, really like what we do here, feel free to go ahead and subscribe, because all that goes back into the hosting costs for all of our podcasts and different shows that we have here on BlizzPro. So it definitely helps keeping us going. You can go through and check with most of the topics that we had here on the show at diablo.blizzpro.com. We are also in game. We are the BlizzPro clan. Like we were mentioning earlier, we're pretty much full up, and well, we don't know who's applying to actually get into the clan, so it's kind of difficult getting in specific people unless you go through and you whisper one of the officers directly about your intent to go through and get in. But until then, hopefully the clan situation will be a little bit more under control. We'll also just have to see how active this season goes through. I honestly expect it to be just as active, if not more so, than Season 10. But you can always hang out in the Westmarch Workshop community to go through and chat with us. Or you can even hop in our Discord server, discord.gg/BlizzPro. Most every night you will find people from the clan hanging out in Discord, going through, talking about Diablo, getting groups together, both hardcore and softcore. So if you're just looking for a game, feel free to go through, drop in there, hang out. And then, of course, you can go through and follow us individually. I am at 9ballgamer on Twitter, and you can follow me at twitch.tv/9ball. And then my wonderful co-host here, Leviathan, is at LeviathanD3 on Twitter, and twitch.tv/Leviathan111. You can go through and watch his mini streaming. I almost said exploits, but that's the wrong word to use when referring to Diablo, especially in recent memories. But his streaming accomplishments. Yeah, we'll go with that word instead. Yep.
You know, I do have exploits though. I'm able to recreate very quick clears of the same greater rift over and over. It's called challenge rifts.
Yes. You're able to magically reproduce the same exact rift every time that you do it.
No one else has figured this out.
Nope.
Except for everyone else that does challenge rifts.
Yeah, that clicks on that little button below adventure mode.
Oh yeah, and long shot mention, I did clear GR 151, but I'm not telling anyone how I did it, and I didn't kill the boss.
You just didn't kill the boss. Yep. But with that, any last words?
Last words.
Okay, there you go. Last words is last words.
I say last words a lot. It starts to sound weird.
Last words.
Last words.
It still doesn't have the same ring as like maybe baby.
Ooh.
Let's just
these might be your last words. Maybe baby.
Maybe baby.
Maybe baby.
Now that reminds me of Baby Driver. That was such a good movie.
Reminds me of Baby Back Ribs. I want more.
Baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back. I want more.
I want more.
I want to end the show, but I also just want to Chili's baby back ribs.
Barbecue sauce. Chili's baby back ribs.
I think I'm going to have to include this.